I love this passage where Angel Gabriel and Mary, Jesus' mother, have this encounter. It goes right to the heart of what Christmas is about and to the heart of who we are to be about. It points out the key to core. So, what is this all about? God sends Gabriel. So, Gabriel is the messenger of God. And I am sure and certain that each and every one in your lives have had people. I'm switching from this one to this one. Some bug in there. You have had people in your life who were God sent. Think back. So Gabriel is a God sent. And in your lives at different occasions, you have had people who were, thank God for that person. May have been a friend, may have been a mentor, may have been someone who saw a spark in you, someone who lifted you up, someone who recognized the gift in you, someone who saw you for who you were as God's precious one. And that's what Gabriel does. Gabriel comes to Mary and he says, you are God's favorite one. That means God delights in you. Now, when Gabriel says that, it doesn't mean that all the other people are not favorite. I remember asking my mother, I was the youngest of 3 and then of 4 when we adopted an oldest brother. And I asked her, Mom, do you love me more than the others? And I also remember some mothers saying, well, they have the firstborn, they love their baby. And then the second baby, sometimes they wonder, will I love my second baby as much as I do my first one? Well, my mother said, I love you with all my heart, and I love your brothers just as much as I love you. And the interesting thing about is that when you share love, it becomes more. So when Angel Gabriel says, you, Mary, are God's blessed one, you're God's favorite one, God delights in you, you're God's creation. And people who see that in you, people who lift that up, people who recognize you, that there is something unique, something always worthy of love, someone who is wanted, who is cared for, who is lifted up. That is good news. That's what Gabriel does for Mary. And we have those people in our lives who have done that for us. And I'm sure you have been that person to others, often unbeknownst to. I remember way back when I was a vicar still in Germany in a church as an associate, we went for weeks to seminary and to training, educational training. It's kind of never ending. But I remember one specific week, and it was a winter week, and it was dreary, and I was tired, and I felt down and depressed and overwhelmed, and it was just too much. So one of the instructors, one of the teachers, she just pulled me aside after our class, and she just listened, nothing else. She just listened. Says, what's going on? And I shared. And it was good. It was good to be able to just share. We have those people who are God sent, just like Angel Gabriel, and it makes all the difference in the world. Now, Mary's reaction to Gabriel is one of bafflement. She's startled. She kind of doesn't get it. She's all puzzled, overwhelmed, kind of this does not make sense in this situation as it is. It just doesn't add up. And how can it be that God comes so close to us, so close to our human hearts and to our human bodies and to our lives, that God becomes really human, just like you and I, real embodied? So for Mary and for me, it's a big mystery, it's a big puzzlement. Sometimes I just don't get it. Like the eternal God, creator of the universe, beyond anything and everything I can grasp, becomes flesh and blood real, tangible, down to earth, just like you and me. How is that possible? Well, then Gabriel says to this startled Mary who doesn't know why and how this is all to play out, he says, with God, there are some things possible that you may not think possible. So some things are possible that go beyond what you can make sense of. And thank God there are those situations and there are those opportunities that become real and possible beyond what we can grasp. But then the response to that really matters. The story goes, when the people of Israel moved out of Egypt, they came to the Red Sea, and the Egyptian army was breathing down their neck, and the water did not part. It did not part. It did not part until they actually put their foot down into the water, and that's when it happens. Now, that's faith. That's how we respond. If we really trust, believe that God is with us, meeting us where we are, then we walk in faith and in trust and not by sight. We don't have to have it all together to move forward, to embrace God's creation, what God has in place for us. And then one of the greatest things I think we can learn from Mary is her attitude. Her attitude of saying yes to God, saying yes. Yes to what God has prepared, yes to what she doesn't yet know about, yes to something that is still a mystery, yes to something that is not all sorted out, yes to something that is just startling, a puzzlement that she's baffled about. Saying yes, leaning into what God has prepared for us. So what does it take for us? For it to become Christmas, for us to experience that hope that is there for us to embrace? Well, I think it takes paying attention to the people, to the message, to the signs around us and in us, because I think and I deeply believe, and I've experienced people who walk around as messengers. They may not be angels with wings, they may not be men, they may not be named Gabriel, but they're people who are God sent. They're walking around. So paying attention to those people. And then saying yes, leaning in to what God has prepared for us. God becomes real, flesh and blood in our lives, in your life, when you open up and when you say yes. That is good news, my friends. God becomes real, tangible, when you open up and when you say yes.